So, when did you discover acting and why?
I discovered acting in the spring of '99, right downstairs in the Black Box Theater, under the tutelage of Cassie Johnson, who was an adjunct professor at the time, a Lehigh alum as well. And I just wanted to take this intro to acting class. I had done a small student production in high school my senior year. I was a football player, so I didn't have time to do too much of that stuff. And I played football here when I first got here as a freshman, but I took that intro to acting class, and it was kind of fun. I did a production of Raisin in the Sun that same spring, and they begged me to audition for it, and I said no the first couple times, and then I caved in and felt the responsibility to the community and the theater program in Cassie, and there's a much longer version of that story, but. Why did I choose Lehigh? There was a couple reasons. One, that it was relatively close to home, and that meant I could get back to see my mom. And it came highly recommended from my mother's colleagues. She worked at the New York Stock Exchange at the time. She's now retired. And she thought that it would be a good idea for me. It would be a good fit. It had a very, very good reputation. It afforded me the opportunity to play football and attend a school where I could get a really good education. So that's why I'm here.
All right. Now, exactly would you describe your Lehigh experience?
I had a great Lehigh experience. Lehigh really allowed me to grow as a person. It was very important for me to be here when I was, for the length of time that I was, to do the things that I did while I was here, whether it be running around the football field as the mascot I created called Wave Man, whether it be in one of these programs or productions here, whether it was helping the minority community here, whether it was I was able to teach some kids in the Lehigh Valley and Easton and Allentown through a Building Bridges program at Touchstone Theater. Lehigh really allowed me the opportunity to grow, and I was fortunate enough that I walked out of here knowing what I was put here to do.
Now, tell us about Wave Man. What was Wave Man?
Wave Man. Well, Brown and White knows what Wave Man was, or is. Wave Man was just a character I created because I was originally the Mountain Hawk. After I stopped playing football, I worked in the sports marketing department as my work-study job. And when I stopped playing, they needed another mascot. There were usually two guys. Well, there were a couple mascot incidents that didn't go over so well. One involved a fight with the Columbia Lion, which I won. He started, but I won. And there was some animosity towards the Mountain Hawk from the old Lehigh alum, because we were the engineers until, I believe, '95. And I just didn't understand. I didn't want to feel animosity when all I was trying to do was support my team. So it came to a head at like a Delaware game. And they were like, people were screaming and cussing at the Mountain Hawk to get out of the way. And I was just like, this is not going to go over well. So at this game against Princeton, and where the other guy in the mascot suit got into a fight with the Princeton Tiger, which is probably what caused my fight with Columbia the next week that Ivy League tends to stick together. I ran around the field in a tank top and Lehigh issued sweatpants. And I took the cheerleaders' ribbons out of their hair. I took a brown one and a white one. I tied them around my arms, and they had these little signs, and one said, "Do the wave." And we had a decent section at Princeton that particular day. So I was able to get our section to do the wave, and I ran with the wave. And it was only about 30 yards or so, but it happened, and it was fun, and I could talk to everybody. So inevitably, when I decided that I didn't want to be the bird anymore, the Wave Man evolved, and he ended up having face paint and pom-pom for hair, and it was very reminiscent of the Ultimate Warrior from the WWE, WWF wrestling days, and he became an avid supporter of our football team, and we won the Patriot League championship every year I was here.
Wow.
So,
Now, what year did you stop playing football?
I stopped right my freshman year. I only played that freshman year. I was in spring practice in the spring of '99, and I decided that I would focus on my academic career, and I left the football team as a member, but I never really left the football team. I lived with football players. My best friends were football players, and many of them played their whole careers. Roommates, my old roommate, two of them, Ben Little and Mo Taylor, run Starters Riverport. Like I'm connected to Lehigh forever. I love this place.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Now, were you recruited to play here?
I was recruited to play here. Myself and a friend of mine out of high school. They came and recruited us. So.
What high school in Brooklyn were you?
Brooklyn Technical High School.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Brooklyn Tech.
Makes sense. Now, before you quit the football team, how did you balance that with theater? Was that a deciding factor?
I didn't have to balance because it was in the spring when I decided to take this acting class, and then I think right before we started rehearsal, or right around when we started rehearsal, I left the football team. So I never actually had to balance the two. I know I've had students behind me, and that were graduated years after me, that did balance it, and I applaud them for that effort. But I was fortunate enough I made a clean trade. I went from football practice to what I called play practice for many years. But we all know it as rehearsal.
Oh boy. Now, where did you land up after LU?
I went straight to OU. I just took a trip down the alphabet, a couple letters. I went to Ohio University, and I got my master's in fine arts and acting. And Ohio University is Pam Pepper's alma mater, so we've got a little bit of connection there.
So then what happened?
Well, I got out of grad school, and I moved back to New York, and I lived with a buddy of mine who was from Lehigh. He and some other friends from Lehigh had started a real estate company, and I worked with them for a while I was pursuing my acting career. And before I knew it, I had shot a couple commercials that summer, and then that fall, or that late winter, I went on a 6-month, 3-city tour with the show Fences to regional theaters in Hartford, Dallas, and Portland. And shortly after that, I did another regional production in Baltimore at the end of '07, and I was on Broadway in January 2008 for the first time. So.
Now, how did you get to Lombardi?
Lombardi came to me. No, I was in California. I'd moved to Los Angeles in September of '09, and just to find some more film and television jobs. The industry for that side of the industry is a lot larger in Los Angeles. And I knew the casting director from another production that I'd been casting, but I was unfortunately not able to do. I withdrew from it to take another production, an off-Broadway show, Chasing Manet with Jane Alexander. And I was in Cali, and Laura came out there with the director, and Thomas Kail, and the writer, Eric Simonson, and they came and auditioned. They were looking for bigger guys that could actually look like professional football players, so I fit that bill a little bit. And I auditioned for it, and they flew me to New York for a callback. I met the producers, Tony and Fran, who are awesome, and they decided that it would be a good idea.
Now, tell us about the play, for those who don't know what Lombardi is.
Lombardi is a 95-minute awesome play that is at Circle in the Square Theater on Broadway. We are well past our 100th performance. We receive standing ovations every night, literally every night, which is overwhelming and awesome. It's a show about Vince Lombardi, the famed Green Bay Packers football coach, who was also the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants in the 50s. He is a Patriot League alum from Fordham University, and it's a play about his life. It follows a week in his life where a fictional reporter comes to do a story on him, and that reporter lives with him and attends practice and is trying to figure out what it is that made him so special. Vince Lombardi is the most successful football coach we've ever had in the professional ranks. He is the only coach to win 3 championships in a row. He won the first 2 Super Bowls, and the Super Bowl trophy is named after him. He unfortunately passed away early. He was 57. He passed away of colon cancer, and mainly because he devoted his life to his team, to football, to his players, and he sacrificed a lot, his family and his health, as a result of that. This show highlights all of those things, and it also touches on his players. There are 3 players in the show: Paul Hornung, Jim Taylor, and Dave Robinson, who I play, and we all are there to give you different sides of who this man is and show you how he affected people. And then a large part of the show is Vince Lombardi is played by Dan Lauria, the father from The Wonder Years, for those of you who may have remembered that series, Jack Arnold. And his wife is played by Judith Light of Who's the Boss fame, and more recently Ugly Betty and Law and Order, SVU. And the play has a lot to do with their relationship. And many people didn't know how important Marie Lombardi was to Vince, and how integral she was to his success, and how much of an anchor she was to his life. And Judith has a huge role in the show. The reporter spends a lot of time talking to Marie Lombardi, and the performances are awesome. I mean, they are out of this world. I would say that even if I wasn't in the show, I'm not even speaking about mine, it is a fantastic show to be a part of. I am so proud to be a part of this show and the message that it delivers to people night in and night out. It's I mean, we leave the theater, and I can't tell you how many middle-aged men have had tears in their eyes trying to express how much they appreciate the show, and then we've had other folks who know nothing about football and will tell you how much they love the show, and people that say, oh, I didn't know what to expect, but this show was fantastic. And I guess the proof's in the pudding, because we extended our box office to June 19th. So we're the only show that opened, the only play that opened last year that's still going on Broadway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now tell us some more about Dave Robinson, your character.
Well, Dave Robbie Robinson he was the first black linebacker in the NFL. He was the Packers Players Association rep at the time. He's described as a Lombardi man. His relationship with Lombardi was a little different than everyone else's, because Dave lost his father when he was 15, and so Lombardi took on a much more of a father figure role in his life. So there was in some ways I don't want to say a deeper love than was indicative with any of his other players, but there was just something else there. It was something else. I won't say it wasn't deeper or better or stronger. It was just something else, and that was really important to Dave and to Vince. And I've had the opportunity to meet Dave. He has seen the show a couple times, and he is very proud of my performance of him. He was an awesome guy. Everyone who's ever spoken about Dave Robinson says how much of a joy he is to be around, and I try to bring that through in my performance. And he also is used to highlight how Lombardi was anti-discrimination. Vince Lombardi was completely against any type of discrimination, be it sexual orientation, race, anything. It's well documented. It's not often spoken about, but it's well documented. He once threatened to forfeit. He actually did put in the procedure to forfeit a preseason game in Atlanta because they didn't have a hotel. They did not have a hotel that would house both his black and white athletes. And he said, well, we won't play. And Pete Rozelle, the then commissioner, had to call and make scratch and fight, and finally got a hotel that would house them both. And he said, okay, we'll play now. He stood up for his player Lionel Aldridge when a black man who decided to marry Vicki Nelson, who was a white woman from Utah, and the whole league, that was not allowed. Cookie Gilchrist, a player, had been blackballed from the league years before that for the same thing, and Vince not only stood up, not only did he allow it and permit it and support it, but when other coaches, the commissioner, and people gave him flack, when both of their parents gave him flack for it, he said that this not only is none of my business, it's none of your business. As long as he plays football and is an upstanding gentleman, he can do whatever he wants. And that's who Vince Lombardi was. That's part of who he was. That's part of why I'm so proud to be a part of this production, because people like that should be celebrated, because we need more of them.
Absolutely. Now, On your resume, I saw online one of your special skills was animal noises. Tell us about that one.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I've always been a bit of a class clown. That was one of the things that before I ever was an actor, I was that. So I've made noises when I was a kid. And some they prove useful sometimes in voiceovers and things. I am not making any animal noises for you now. It's not going to happen. But I am proficient at making some pretty good animal noises, be it cats or pigeons or chickens or elephants or horses and things like that.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm a pretty good velociraptor. I'm notorious for my raptor sound.
Now, you were also in the absolutely hilarious Budweiser commercial in the 2010 Super Bowl.
Ah, yes, the bridge.
So, what is that like? You know, being able to see this commercial that was viewed by millions in the Super Bowl.
That was pretty awesome. I gotta say, being in the Budweiser commercial for the Super Bowl was a lot of fun. It was a painstaking shoot. It took 2 days longer than it was supposed to. There was a lot of CGI in order to, have this human bridge done. And we actually had Bill Pope was the DP who was the director of photography, who was the director of photography on the Matrix movies. So they brought in the big dogs, and it was a lot of fun. We one night we got stranded there, and the folks from Budweiser were actually there. And so they took us all out to dinner, and then we had all the Budweiser we could drink. We drank this bar in Santa Clarita or something like that, California. We drank them out of Budweiser to the point where they were just like, well, all we have left is Bud Light. We'll take that. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was watching. I had the privilege of watching it with a bunch of people during the Super Bowl, and we all, the magic of DVR, paused it and rewound it and ran it back and watched it a couple times. We ended up being like probably a good 10 minutes behind everybody else in Super Bowl time because we were watching the commercials so much. But it was a lot of fun. That was a blast. And one of my uncles has worked for Budweiser for many, many, many years, so that was kind of nice to tie that in as well. One of the most important things I learned at Lehigh was how to tolerate and appreciate people that were different from me. I think it's one of the things that all Lehigh students should learn how to do better. It will only strengthen our community as a university. I literally was the bridge between God knows how many different groups, whether it was the minority students, the theater students, the athletes, the frat boys. I was almost an honorary brother at Sigma Chi. I just didn't want to go through with it. I mean, all of those things. I learned so much about so many different people when I was here that I'll never ever be able to. I don't think I can ever greatly appreciate it. It was that important to me. It was really that important to me when I was here. And the Zollner Arts Center and the theater department fostered that for me. And it was always okay to be whoever you were when you walked in these doors. And I appreciated that. And what I took from that was to make it okay for people to be whoever they were around me. And I had to learn how to appreciate different aspects of life and different ways to have fun and different things that people valued and cared about. But Lehigh started that process very, very, very well. And I continued that process, and I continue it even now.
Now, what's your favorite LU memory from when you were here?
LU memory. Wow, my My favorite LU memory. Well, I guess if I'm going to keep it to the university, my favorite memory of being here was when I did Untold Truths at the Touchstone Theater. But that was outside of the university. So let's get a good Lehigh moment. My favorite LU memory has to be Wave Man. I'm not gonna lie. I did Wave Man because I loved those football players and that team, and I wanted them to have home field advantage. So I wanted the crowd to be as raucous as possible, and to have all of those people embrace me, to have the football team, coaching staff, sports marketing folks basically let me do what I wanted, knowing full well that I wasn't doing it to make a spectacle of myself. I was doing it to support the university. Looking back on that, it was pretty awesome. I ran up and down the sidelines as the football game was going on. There would be times that I would be in the end zone near the pylon, in anticipation of a touchdown. There was only one time I got in trouble for standing on the bell that they ring, but that's because apparently you're not supposed to do that. But it's got to be that. That to me was some of the freedom that I enjoyed here at Lehigh. The freedom and support that I got here at Lehigh, which is invaluable, man. It really is.
Do you have any advice for current Lehigh students?
If I had to say one thing to students that are here now, it would be make the absolute most out of the time that you have here. It's going to go by really quickly. It will be some of the most memorable moments of your life. You have a support network here, whether you know it or not, because some people don't realize it. You have a support network here that is unlike any other. These people are paid to do that. They've made decisions in their life to be here, to support you, to educate you, to help you be the best of whatever it is you want to be. Use it. Whether your parents are paying for this, whether you're working hard to pay for it, whether you busted your butt in high school and got a scholarship to be here, you're here. Use it. Use every possible second of it. Have your fun. Go to your parties. You know what I mean? When you're at the age, drink your drinks, be responsible, all that stuff. But use this university to catapult you into the next phase of your life. I said it just now to the students downstairs. This is a springboard. Push it down as far as it can go so you can bounce up as high as possible.